Parrying is a mechanic that is not just a thing in Smash. Parrying is a mechanic in a vast variety of games, but Smash does it differently from other games. But why should you parry and how would you even do a parry? Hello guys, my name is Vexel and today I'm going to be explaining the importance of parrying, how they work and how to do them. I'm basically telling you why you should do it and I'm making it kind of a mini guide. Now let's not waste any more time and just get right into it. A parry is something that is very popular amongst fighting games. If you played a game like Trials of Aether, you might be used to having a certain button set to perform a parry, but in Smash Ultimate this is not the case. In Smash Ultimate, a parry is something that happens when you perfectly time dropping your shield as soon as your opponent tries to hit your shield. Like I just said, a parry is performed by dropping shields just as your opponent is about to hit your shield. When you drop your shield, you have exactly 5 frames to parry. So, if you drop your shield and within 5 frames of you dropping shield, your opponent tries to hit you, this will result in a parry. After frame 5, so from frame 6 and onwards, you are vulnerable and will get hit if your opponent throws out a move. Do note, if you are not shielding yet and you want to parry an incoming attack, shielding takes 3 frames to come out, so if your opponent hits you within 2 frames of you trying to shield, you will get hit. But if you manage to get your shield up and immediately drop it, the same 5 frame rule will apply. So if you are not shielding before wanting to parry, you can't parry until frame 4. Another thing you have to know is that parrying freezes your opponent for exactly 11 frames more than hitting a shield would have frozen them for. And it freezes you for exactly 8 frames, while dropping shield would freeze you for 3 extra frames because dropping shield is frame 11. This means that parrying gives you 3 extra frames to punish your opponent than just shielding their attack would have given you. A small extra which parrying gives you is that because of the player's freezing, you have extra time to react for a good punish. Also nice to know is that you can buffer anything out of a parry. Something that is very important to remember is that parrying a projectile does not freeze your opponent for not a single frame. If after all of this, you are still asking yourself why should I parry, you probably didn't understand anything I said or just didn't pay attention. But because I'm a nice guy, I will make a simple summary of what I just said. Parrying gives you an additional 3 frames to punish a move that is parried, which means that you might be able to punish moves after a parry that would not have been punishable if they just hit your shield. This is very good since some characters that don't have good out of shield options might still be able to punish a move by parrying it, which may lead to a lot of damage or a kill. I want to mention something though, just because you parried a move does not mean you are going to be able to punish it. Sometimes instead of punishing after a parry, it might just be better to get more stage control, because that might be better than trying to punish something and getting hit for it. I have given you all this information that your tiny brain has taken in so far, but how can you practice parrying? A simple but not very effective way to practice it is by going into training mode and selecting a character that has a projectile as their neutral special. Go into the training stage and set the CPU's behavior to neutral special and try parrying their projectiles. You don't necessarily have to do it with neutral special though, you can also choose forward smash or any other move to your liking. Once you kind of start getting the hang of it, start adding some more CPUs so that the timing and the amount of parries you gotta do in a certain amount of time gets different. Once you get to 2 or 3 CPUs, you might also want to change your position based on where the other Pikachus are so that the timings are different. Because when I was trying this, it actually became really easy really fast because I got a hang of the timing, so mixing up your position between the Pikachus to reduce the amount of time that the T-Jolts are here is just gonna make practice way better. But still, this is just an example, you know? If you want to dive further into this technique, please check out Banana Boy SSBU on YouTube. He made a guide for this about like 5 years ago, but it's still pretty relevant and he explains it very well. The only reason I know about this is because of him, so please go check him out. His link will be in the description and I will also link the video in the description. The way that I would recommend way more than a training mode strategy is by just trying to parry stuff in friendlies. If you are playing friendlies, it's not so much about winning but more about improving. So when you are playing with some friends, just try to parry as many attacks as you can. If you do this, you will improve quite a bit and it might just start coming naturally as well. This is really the best way to do it in my opinion, unless you have a friend that wants to sit there with you for hours just spamming moves for hours while you try parrying them. Now let's go over when you should try to parry. If you notice that your opponent likes hitting your shield a lot with their moves, just start parrying them. If they don't adapt to it, then great, you get free punishes. But if they do catch on to it, they might bait it out and instead go for a tomahawk grab or grounded option, or they might delay their attack, which will result in them hitting you. So you do have to watch out a little. But besides that, I don't think there's really a bad time to go for parries. Just make sure that you catch on whether your opponent catches onto it or not. I have said almost everything I have wanted to say in this video. There's just a few extra things that I think are still good to know and that I want to tell you guys. A lot of players think that they need to parry based on reaction time. A lot of moves that your opponent will throw out will have between, let's say, 8 to 15 frame startup. A human with really good reaction speed will be able to react to something as fast as 16 in-game frames to visual effects, which means that most of the time you are not going to be able to react to moves and parry them. You can also parry based on anticipations and reads, but this might get you punished if you make an incorrect guess. There's this cool little trick called parrying the character and not the move. Now, I am not going to go into this since this is something I only found out while doing research for this video. Instead, I will link the YouTube video I watched for this in the description below and in the card above if that's possible. The video was made by Solo Jones and he explains this trick very well and is definitely worth a watch. Something else I want to tell you is that you should know what move is coming before trying to parry it. For example, if you think a fox is going to try and nair your shield out of disadvantage, but instead he does a down air and you try to parry it, you will drop shield and get hit by the down air. My point here is that when you try to parry a move based on anticipations or reads, make sure that you know what move they are going to throw out, because all of the moves have different timings, which means that the timing of your parry has to be adjusted to the startup of the move from your opponent. Now to get to the final question, should you parry? If by now it isn't obvious enough, then you are just not paying attention, because the answer is definitely yes. Parrying just gives you such a big reward for using. I would say that not using it is just the worst mistake you could make. If you just paid attention to the part where I said when you shouldn't parry, you should be completely fine. This is going to be it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed, a like and a sub would be greatly appreciated. Tips in the comments on how you can improve my content are always welcome, and I will hopefully see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.